Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. My name is Gail Snyder, and I'm the Executive Director for Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. We are proud to offer this program with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and United Way of Tarrant County. And our guest today is Peggy Spear with Artful Moments at the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. And I'm going to turn the session over to Peggy.
Thank you, Gail. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right, well, let's jump on into it. Let me pop open. Wait, hold on one second, folks. I thought I had the PowerPoint pulled up, but I did not. Okay, here we go.
What do I do here?
Share screen. Beautiful. All right, now we can see it, right? Or tell me if you can.
Yes, we can see it.
Beautiful. Okay. All right, guys. Well, right now we have on view an exhibition called Texas Made Modern, and it is an exhibition featuring a man he's from Arkansas, but a known artist in Dallas named Everett Spruce. So this man is Everett Spruce. Born in Arkansas in 1908, lived there for most of his life, and then most of his early life, and then moved down to Texas in 1926. He moved down to Dallas for art school. And so this exhibition that's on view right now is a retrospective of his work from about the late 1900s to the mid to late 1950s. And they're all, with the exception of one artwork, they're all oil on canvas, so paintings that are hanging on the wall. And his daughter, who's still alive, was very instrumental in helping collect or helping to get all the different artworks to the museum and to help share the story about this particular artist, because he was not one to talk about himself. So she was able to talk about him for him. This artist, his name is Everett Spruce, like I said, he's made an estimated 800 paintings. So he has a lot of artworks, but in this exhibition, I want to say it's roughly between 40 and 50 artworks that are on view, but it's kind of the best of examples during different phases in his artistic career. So let's jump on in to I'm bringing you up into the space, even though we're sitting in our dens and living rooms. Here is what the walls look like right now up in that gallery. So again, the exhibition is called Texas Made Modern, and it's the art of Everett Spruce. Have any of you ever heard of Everett Spruce before?
No. I think the name sounds a little bit familiar to me, but it could just be because of our correspondence backwards and forth.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, that could be. And there's some billboards around town, Gail, that you might have even seen, and subconsciously it's in your brain.
Yeah.
He is not a well-known artist today, but he was when he was creating art. And art historians refer to the canon, which is the list of artists that if you were to open up an art history book, you would see the same, you'd see Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Bernini, you'd see all of these same artists. That's the canon of art. Everett Spruce is one of those names that never really stuck in the canon, but when he was making work at the time, he was very well known. He had artwork in the Whitney up in New York, at MoMA up in New York, and a lot of museums were collecting his work during his production. But then in about the 80s, a lot of museums started deaccessioning, which means selling off his artwork from their collection. I guess he wasn't in vogue, people weren't really interested in his artwork, so he kind of got lost over time. And this exhibition is celebrating his work and hopefully bringing him back to importance. So it's not surprising that you all haven't really heard of him before, but now you'll see his work, and hopefully you'll see more and more of his artwork appearing on book covers, things like that.
Tell
All
us
right.
his name again, please.
I'm sorry, say that again, Paulette.
Would you tell us his name one more time?
Sure, it's Everett Spruce, Spruce, like the tree.
Three. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, and this is what he looks like. He's kind of a squirrely man. Hard to find any pictures of him, hard to find any information about him. He wasn't a prolific writer like some artists we know. So, kind of piecing together through his daughter, through some letters we found, things like that, details of his life. So he started painting as a little boy. He always was sketching. He was very, very interested in nature. So here's another view of what the exhibition space looks like. And if you might see, you might not be able to see, all of his artworks on the wall are really rooted in nature. So you're seeing clouds, animals, trees, mountains. We'll talk about this artwork in a minute that I'm circling, the one on the left on the blue, or excuse me, right on the blue wall. But you'll see nature has always been of interest to him. He was reading poetry by Yeats, Whitman, Thoreau. Have any of you read poems by those men before? Do you know what kind of
Yes.
thinkers they were? Do you know what their movement was that they were associated with? This is a tricky one.
They always
Transcendentalism. So it's that concept of you and nature are one. So while those men were writing about that, he felt very connected to that work. And you can see some of that nature appeal in his paintings. So this is the first one we're going to look at. This is called Pulpa Tree, and it's a landscape. Can you tell me what you see on this screen?
Leaves, a branch, a tree.
You see a tree.
Looks like clouds in the sky and rocks. And
Clouds up
maybe
here.
a river, pond, stream of some sort of water. I don't know.
The water looks like a man laying down hugging the tree.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
That is cool. I love that. Yeah, and Paulette, you did point out all of the major pieces. We've got the sky up here, the clouds, and the clouds kind of mimic what's happening down here, at least in terms of the colors he's using. And then was it Janine, you said you see a man hugging the tree? I love that.
Yeah.
Which is very much like Spruce, because he was a very big nature lover. So that could be an intentional inclusion.
It looks like a finger and a fingernail right there. A hand.
Which was in panel 1, 2, or 3?
3.
And you're seeing a
Right.
finger.
Move the arrow up a little bit more. No, down, down, down. Right there. See, right there underneath it. His fingernail, and there's his finger and knuckles.
Oh, how interesting. Yes, okay. I love that. So this is a screen. This is a very rare type of artwork that still exists, that Spruce created. Do you guys, maybe you grew up with screens in your house? Do you know what they're used for?
This is too small for a screen.
Room dividers.
Exactly right, Janine. This was a room divider. And it's about 5.5 feet tall, so not a big room divider, but a room divider nonetheless. And here you can see it in space, in the gallery space right now. Really pretty beautiful.
It's interesting how the color of the wall behind it changes what the colors in the painting look like.
You're exactly right. It pops here, doesn't it?
It really does.
It feels a little kind of dull here, but there it comes to life. So this screen really is the beginning of Spruce's creation of nature onto canvas or nature onto something two-dimensional. He was always interested in it, but hadn't really painted much. So now he was, after going to art school in Dallas, he was feeling more and more confident and comfortable creating these types of nature scenes. So you always see a horizon line in his artwork. So I want you to kind of keep your eyes peeled for that straight line in the background of where the land and the earth, or the land and the sky meet. And that was a very popular theme because he was very interested in the heavenly and the earthly, sort of like when we talked about Marsden Hartley last week, with those ideas of symbols of the heavenly things that are supernatural, the power of nature, with what's actually happening on the world below in the human flesh and form. So he did this in Dallas, and he painted this tree is an indigenous tree to where he grew up in Arkansas. So
Where in Arkansas was he, may I ask?
Say that again, Paulette. What about Arkansas?
Where in Arkansas? My husband's from Arkansas.
I have that near the Ozark Mountains, or in the Ozark Mountains. So he grew up in the mountains.
Okay.
I think northern. Your husband's from Fayetteville?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Cool. Did he go to Arkansas?
No, he did not go to the University of Arkansas. He went to West Point.
Oh, I grew up in I grew up in Baltimore. I was thinking you were seeing the Naval Academy, West Point. Because Annapolis, we were just talking about that today, actually, how cool it is to see the midshipmen, but totally off topic.
You might argue at that point, which.
Oh yeah, right. I know. I'm sure. That's funny. No, so he lived while he was in Texas. He very much missed Arkansas, and he was a farm boy. He was one of 6 children, I believe, and so he was used to waking up in the morning, working the land, going to school, coming back, doing more on the farm. So he was very aware of rocks and trees and streams, and his eyes were always on nature, just given the type of upbringing he had. So moving into Dallas, which was big city compared to rural Arkansas, he was still very inspired and missing those natural elements that he was used to seeing up north. So the cloud in the sky, we kind of talk about, it mimics. I feel like this is like such a good production looking at how beautiful it is. So we'll talk about it in situ. You see the river, or the clouds kind of mimicking the river, which is almost, you get the sense that maybe it feels like a circle to me. Like if you were to follow this through, it might even come around and touch. Very interested in this idea of everything working together in nature. And all of nature's forces affecting each other. So what's happening up in the sky will probably affect what's happening down on the land. All right, so we'll jump to another one of his paintings. Now this is a painting that's actually hanging on the wall in the exhibition. So you can see this is that wall of the exhibition space, and it's this artwork on the far right in the black frame. So that's kind of to give you a sense of size, but we can look more closely on this one. So the title of this artwork is Southwest Texas Landscape. So what do we see in this landscape?
A lot of rocks and trees.
Rocks and trees. We see some trees that are alive and kicking. We have some trees that have met their demise. And you said rocks, Paulette?
Yeah.
You see rocks here, here. He was very interested in rocks and this idea of stacking rocks closer to heaven. This was a theme that he carried throughout his entire career. So you put on you, Paulette, for immediately being drawn to one of his signature moves.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
So you see trees, rocks, So some of these things we'll see, another common theme of his is dead trees and live trees in the same painting. And he's talking about that circle of life. He was used to seeing on his farm, kind of that when things were exhausted, you would cut them down, prepare the land, while other parts of the farm might be coming to life. So do you see a number of those trees?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was, some art historians think that this was like another one of those conversations of earth. We're looking at the earth and heaven, because this artwork, what is the first thing you view when you look at this painting? What draws you in first?
The tree up at the top.
The tree at the top?
The stack of rocks.
You mean right here?
Yeah.
That stack of rocks, yeah. And then he used
And then
oh, go ahead.
and is that a road that's going over the hill?
It looks to be. Or it could be a river too.
Yeah, I was thinking it looked more like a stream.
And then there's a path, looks like a rock path going into the mountain area.
Oh, yeah. Does everyone see that on the right side of the painting, off of that evergreen tree?
Yeah, that's cool.
Seeing a path to the mountain.
I like this, the big evergreen down there, and the branch that's next to it, it looks like somebody's leaning back and ready to throw some.
Oh, yeah, like this is the arm.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, well, that's one arm that's way extended, and this is the arm that's kind of rolled back and ready to pitch the ball or whatever it is.
Oh, how fun. Oh, I see what you're saying. So this is the person. I was picturing the person like that's their body. I see what you're saying.
No,
so the person is
the body. Here's
upright.
the arm, here's the other arm, and that's the path that the object just took.
Oh, how cool.
So I think the stack of rocks looks like someone is kind of holding their hand like this.
Mm-hmm.
Where
the fingers are right here, Gail.
And the up and down is the thumb piece.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. Oh, I love all these different things you're pointing out. And this tree, this is for any art history, Italian Renaissance buffs. This branch is a technique artists would use in Italy, and of that pre-Renaissance era, that would pull a viewer in. Their eye would go to this tree because that seems to be going one direction, and the artwork seems to be moving upwards. So that kind of that juxtaposition of where Paulette sees the person throwing a ball, that line is kind of meant to suck your eye in, and then everything else is bringing you up.
Well, maybe she's throwing a pine cone. Who knows?
Yeah, pine cone, perfect. Trying to get it to that evergreen tree on the other side of the road or river.
Yep, absolutely.
So do you guys have any sense of time? When this might have been painted? Was it modern? Was it prehistoric? What do you have any clues as to when this might have been painted?
Current.
Using current?
Just out in the woods, an isolated area where nobody had moved yet.
Yeah, that's kind of another thing. He has very consistent themes throughout his artwork, and one of them is, who knows what time he was painting, trying to capture in his paintings, because that could be, like Paulette said, maybe right in that moment he had just gone out to Southwest Texas and stumbled upon an area that he just saw, or it could even be, you might go out to Southwest Texas next week and this could be something you see. It's very, there's no concrete time of when these artworks were to be depicting. And so often, this probably is a river, not a road, only because roads would indicate it had to have been done during a time when roads existed. Roads haven't always existed. So it's nature in its raw, pure form, which was always the most interesting to him. All right, this was painted in 1936. This was painted earlier in his career in 1929. So we're kind of just moving throughout his career. So then now his next artwork, this is 1936 as well. This is called Mending the Rock Fence. So what do we see happening here? What's happening in the front of the artwork?
They're building a wall.
They're building a wall. Who do you see building a wall?
Yeah, looks like a wall.
Father and son.
A father and son.
Grandfather and grandson, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's skipping a generation. I think, yeah, both Paulette and Gail, I think that might be, we don't know for sure who these people are, but that might be what's happening. It's maybe the passing down of tradition. You see this man gesturing towards whether it's his son or just somebody younger that he's working with, passing off this idea of the tradition of building a rock wall. So the art of that is not lost. The skill of that continues to go through generation to generation.
It doesn't look like there's any mortar. It looks like it's just rocks stacked.
Yeah, you're right. And it doesn't look like there are any supplies behind them that they'll go back and do any or fill any holes in. And so, do we have any markers of time here? Do you see anything that might indicate a certain part of history when this might have been painted?
I mean, I was guessing the 30s, and then I saw over there, so it's the first time I ever saw that, but I don't, it's just.
Yeah, well, so it was painted in 1936, and we know that Spruce grew up on the farm, so he was used to physical labor. In terms of time, you know, I'm sure they weren't wearing belts like this older man is wearing maybe in biblical times. Same with the overalls.
Yeah, no.
But there is a bit of a feeling, again, thinking back to what icons, this is what it looks like in the gallery. But this is what it looks, have you seen icons of religious saints throughout history, or, you know, during medieval times, what those saints might look like, those icons? I'm sure you've seen them maybe in churches or on miraculous medals, in books maybe. So there's a little bit, do you see the connection between the two?
They're always, there's always a pair.
There's a pair, yeah.
There's
they all have some sort of,
those two, and she's got the cat. So there's always a pair.
yes, that's a really great observation, that these are masons of some sort, that they're building a rock fence. So their tool, kind of like saints, is their icon. So this fence builder's icon is his rock, the same way St. Gertrude's icon is a cat. And I think this is St. Peter and Paul. But they're connected with what is identifying them. And Everett Spruce, the artist of this painting,
have to leave.
very much admired and honored.
Hi, Nancy. See you tomorrow.
Hi, Nancy. Very much honored the tradition of workers, laborers, farmers. So this is almost like his saint icon, like what was happening during the medieval times.
Where was Gertrude from, St. Gertrude?
If I were to guess, I would say somewhere near Germany. Oh, I don't know where, I can't remember exactly where this icon exists. I don't think it's from a major collection. I think it was just maybe like a little prayer card with a picture of St. Gertrude on it.
Do you think he intentionally did the beard the same way?
The same way as another. Oh, I'm seeing what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. He might not have, he probably wasn't looking at this exact icon image, but that type of beard was very common for saint depiction. Very good observation, Janine. That's great. And they look to be in shape. They look physically fit, which you would have to be for doing that kind of labor. And then do we see a horizon line in this one?
Yes, with stacks of rocks in it.
Stacks of rocks, and then look where that's at the very top. A dead tree, and then here's a live tree, so referencing that circle of life. And what do you notice about the clouds? What do they look like?
Mountains and hills.
Exactly, mountains and hills. So again, he's referencing his home in the Ozark Mountains. Any
With
other?
a river running through them.
Right. Janine, you're all about those rivers today. I love it. Any other observations about this artwork before we move to another one? And the next one will be our last one.
Novellis is in Belgium, in case you wondered.
What's in Belgium, the Saint?
Yeah,
Oh, yes, Gertrude. Okay.
it's in Belgium.
Well, there you go. I wonder if it's a Germanic speaking part of Belgium, because I know they speak a little bit of everything in Belgium. Cool. Well, thank you for that quick research. All right, and we're gonna view this last artwork, and this one's called Century Plant. Does anyone else know another name for a century plant?
Cactus?
It is a type of cactus, but there's a specific name for it. Agave.
Oh yeah, of course.
I know, I never knew it as a century plant until this exhibition. So we're now learning another name for one of our favorite types of plants. So this is painted in 1948. So this was painted much later than the last one. That was 1936. So now we're about 12 years later. What if we notice from this style to this style?
Much more color. And
I
of
love
course,
it.
more abstract.
Abstract and colorful. Okay, great. So tell me what colors you're seeing.
Black.
Black.
Turquoise and kind of rust color.
You nailed it, Gail. Yeah, he started integrating those colors typically associated with the Southwest. So, maybe New Mexico, Arizona, those deserts, you typically think of the big turquoise necklaces or jewelry that you get from those lands, the terracotta, the color of the soil, or the clay that's in that land. So he's now linking region with color. And Janine talks about how abstract it is. Yes. So what types of shapes are you seeing in this artwork?
Lots of rectangles.
Rectangles, you're right. And then up here you see some triangles. Does it feel like a very soft and smooth artwork? Does it feel jagged? Does it feel calm? What kind of vibe do you get from this?
I get jagged.
Jagged?
Very busy.
Busy. Do we see a horizon line in this one?
Yeah, what in the back?
Very
Yeah.
tall.
Very
And
tall.
Also at the bottom. Look
Yeah.
at the water at the bottom.
Right, that blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, giving you a water vibe.
And is that supposed to be a sun on the horizon?
It looks to be sun or a moon, but definitely something heavenly, which we know he was really interested in the earth and sky and the human and the heavenly. Very good. All right, I do have one more. I lied. That wasn't the last one. So this was 1948, and that's what it looks like in our gallery. So to what Gail was saying, that blue really makes the blue pop. You can see where you guys had suggested there maybe might be a river. That blue wall really helps it shine. But the last artwork I have, so this was towards the end of his height of fame in the 50s, to the late 50s. That's really when he was towards the end of the amount of work he was producing. 1957. So the title of this artwork is called Broken Jetty, Port Aransas. How many of you have been to Port Aransas on the Gulf?
Not me.
Not me. Been to a lot of ports, but I don't think I've been to that one. But maybe I have and don't remember. Who knows?
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Who knows? You might have even driven through and not realized. Yeah, I've never been to Port. Some people call it Port A. I've never been to Port Aransas, so I've not seen it in person. But that was Everett Spruce would often go down to the Gulf with his family. He would load everybody up in the car. Especially when he knew a storm system was coming through. So we know how many hurricanes that part of Texas gets. So he would go down and he would stay back far enough to kind of let the storm move through, and then he would come through to see the aftermath. So this is an example of one of his paintings during the aftermath of a hurricane. Does it feel calm or does it feel chaotic?
Chaotic.
And why do you say that, Paulette?
Because everything's jumping around. I don't know. It's not, I suppose, but it's just
No, you're right. You got brush strokes this way.
It's a busy atmosphere.
Very busy. And you can see.
And even more abstract.
You're right, Jeannie. He started going even more abstract. So you can see on the wall, especially to some, he was kind of back and forth between objects you understand or objects you can recognize to totally abstract. So you can see in this painting, in this picture, the juxtaposition of one of his abstract versus one of his real object type paintings. Again, the colors look so different on that wall. That gray really speaks to the mood of the water, I feel. But his daughter said that she remembers actually being in the car and he was watching the waves. It was an angry sea right after a storm. So you were right, Paulette, that kind of chaotic water that happens after a storm, and just watching the waves pound on the jetty and destroying parts of the rocks of the jetty. So can you see where rocks are?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the water. And then what do we see here?
It's like mountains off in the distance, but
Mountains. Well, it's in the Gulf, so he's probably not seeing mountains, but he might be referencing the mountains of his past because
well,
the clouds.
it might just be huge waves getting ready to really scare the port.
Oh man, whew, like a wall of water, huh?
Yeah.
So that is the end of our talk. But if you feel like taking an adventure out for a morning or afternoon, this exhibition is actually up right now, and it will be up through November, I believe, early November. And you can see some of these beautiful artworks. They're coming from museums, they're coming from private collections from all over the country. So some of these artworks have never been viewed in public, which is really kind of cool that we now get to see them, one, in person, but two, hanging with other artworks that they've never been on view together. So if you're feeling like an adventure, we'll be here with Spruce hanging on our walls.
Oh, let me just add one more thing. When you look at this wall of water, what can you say but wow?
It's beautiful.
W for wall, O of, and then W for water. Wow.
Oh, how cool. Oh, I love that. I'll have to tell the curator you said that. She'll really enjoy
It's a
that.
wow exhibit.
It's a wow exhibit. She will be happy to hear that.
Okay.
Well, ladies, it's always a joy chatting with you. Hopefully I wasn't chatting too much, but thank you for pointing out all of your wonderful points of view. I will now go appreciate these artworks in a different way than I had before.
Thank you.
Overdue.
And I will be back next week. I don't have my list in front of me, but we'll be talking about art. That's all I can tell you.
Oh, good.
See, give me just a second and I can tell you what next week is. Next week's art session will be about music.
Perfect.
Ooh, cool.
No.
So we'll be chatting then next week, girls. I hope you have a great week and a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all in October. I can't believe tomorrow is October.
No, I can't either.
Me
This year.
either.
Yeah, then Paulette, it's your birthday month, so let the
Yeah.
celebrations begin.
Just
All right, everyone. It was
which.
good. Oh, stop. It was really good seeing all of you, and we'll see you next week.
Great. Peggy, thank you so much.
Thanks,
For a
Gail.
great
Bye, girl.
presentation. We'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye. Have a good
All
week.
right. So tomorrow we will play Jeopardy
Okay.
at 10:30. So come ready to put your thinking caps on and come up with those great answers for the Jeopardy game.